What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review for you X-Men 97, Episode 8, Tolerance for Extinction, Part 1. Well, it's late. I just finished watching this episode, and I have to say, great leave on this episode. Now, for me, this episode started off a little bit slow. But by the time it got to the end, I was pumped for what was happening. I was getting a lot of not even fan service, just more excitement, more like, damn, the odds are all against him. What can we do? Right? How are we getting out of this? So, for the most part, you get a little bit more of the X-Men dealing with the situation and coming to terms with what's going on with Bastion and getting a little bit of a origin story for Bastion. Now, I think it's a little bit twerked from the comic because you don't have Master Mold and coming together and going through the Siege Perilous or anything like that. They basically gave you the Spider-Man origin for Venom. It just fell to Earth. It just showed up here and found the first human it could and bonded with it, basically. So it was future tech, and it came back to the past, and it grabbed the first person it could, and that person infected the next person that ended up becoming Bastion's mother, which was interesting. That was an interesting way to go without having to get into all that convoluted story points and stuff like that, just to get him to the point. Like, you just have to get Bastion here. You do. You just have to get him from the future into the past. All the rest of that is, makes for a good story. But if you're trying to streamline something for a 30-minute show, that was a clever way to do it. It was. I have to give props to that. So many times when we see adaptions of these comic books, we have to understand that television and animation may not have the same amount of time to tell the same story. Comics might have took 6 months, 3 months to tell you a story like that, to give you that origin. You don't have that kind of time on a television show. So how they streamline things to get the gist out of it and get the main point out of it is what I look at and what I, grade the stuff on. I'm not always expecting it to be exactly like the comic, but I do expect them to hold to the key points of it. And what I'm seeing in this show is that even though they make some tweaks here and there, they do hold to the main points of it. Somebody has a real steady hand on understanding what the main gist of these characters and the story actually was from the comics and the animation, and are weaving that together really well. I'm really amazed with how good this show is. I'm serious. Coming out of Marvel right now, holy cow, dude, this is like looking ridiculous. Like, who did this? Where is this person who did this? They work at Marvel? Like, come on. It's a question. It's a question that's growing with every episode. Like, what in the heck? But you get this story, and you get the team splitting up in a sense to where they're going off to follow different leads. And you get the Summers clan going one way. You have Jubilee and Roberto in their one direction, dealing with his mother and whatnot. And then you have Beast, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler back at the mansion, watching over Rogue. Now, Rogue is still knocked out from that Gyric Prime Sentinel, that back shot from hell. He put her ass out for the count for a little bit. She's still taking a powder. So he gave, like I said in the last video, boy, he gave her the gusto. And She's still knocked out, and that's something to be said for somebody as strong and as durable as Rogue. Like, damn, you put it on her. Now, most of this episode, the beginning parts was slow because it's giving you a history lesson on who Bastion was, and following Cable and Scott and Jean going to this location that Cable has. It's supposed to be a Sentinel factory. What you end up finding out is not a Sentinel factory at all. It's Bastion's childhood home. When they get inside of that home, Bastion's mother is there, just sitting in the dark, and letting them know that her son told her that people would be coming and take her. So she is getting ready. Now, I don't know a couple of old people around me right now. And if I walked in a house and they were sitting in there in the dark, I would not trust anything that happened after that. I'd be really skeptical. Really skeptical. But by playing along with her, Scott, Jean, and Cable get to learn a little bit more information about Bastion, while while Jean is able to pull psychic impressions off of stuff. The mother keeps showing them Bastion's art, and you find out this guy is artistic. He was naturally born, but he heard this voice in his head, like Oppenheimer seeing particles, or Sarkon hearing the voice of Ugin in his head. He heard these voices that weren't his own, and the voice he's heard was Nimrod, was that programming about what mutants were and what they needed to do about mutants. Now, that gives you a little bit of a sympathy for the devil kind of situation, because you understand this person really didn't have any control over this. This was going to happen regardless, in a very much bright burn kind of way. Look, the programming is going to take effect, and he has no control over it. It was what was baked in the cake. Okay, it's going to taste like it's going to taste. Okay, there's nothing you can do about that. So eventually, he just went with it. He just went with it and put together his plans to do all this. Now, back at Bastion's actual base, you find out that Sinister does not trust Bastion, and he sees himself as using Bastion, because what Bastion's plan is going to do is fill up pens with mutants that Sinister can experiment on and use. Now, this kind of struck me as a little bit dark beasty, the pens where he just experiments on people, but Sinister is in that same ilk. He will mangle some people genetics. You like playing with that stuff like a bowl of spaghetti. He will be fucking with it. So I can understand for who that character is. That's something he's looking forward to. But at the same time, you have Val Cooper, who is wearing like a Prime Sentinel skirt or dress, and finding out that she is like a liaison from the American government working with Bastion. And what you find out is Bastion is actually working with a few people. A few. Dr. Doom being one of them. Baron Zemo being another one. That these people he has worked these deals or whatever with are all part of this organized Operation Zero Tolerance, which is name dropped in this show. Now, I like seeing that. That's the OZT, like I said, but seeing it come to fruition on screen was like, Jesus. Now, the part I love about this episode, once it finally starts getting going, and Hank is actually trying to scan the planet for how many of these Prime Sentinels it is. This is the invasion of the body snatchers moment that I was talking about. In my last video, when I talked about why I thought Prime Sentinels were cool, because you never know who they were, and they would just activate all of a sudden. Well, that's what the hell you got in this episode. They just start awakening, period. It was just the safeties was off, and now these Sentinels are coming alive all over the place. all over the planet. And then you see how many people have actually been turned by Sinister into these Prime Sentinels. It's scary. It's a scary thought. And going through, I think the one that was the most scary is that there's a mother and father sitting on the couch with their children, and the mother turns, and the kids are looking like, "What the hell?" And then the father turns. I'm like, "Oh shit!" They had kids and everything. Like, what in the dude? That's some scary shit. That's some scary shit. That's some end of the world type of stuff. But what you see is that they start activating all over the place, and they still got some of their actual faculties. They're not dumb by any stretch. But what they start doing is going after the mutants that they're close to. So, although Jubilee and Roberto had a little issue with Roberto's mom and decided to go out, and go to the mall, well, it turns out Roberto's butler is a Prime Sentinel. Let's just watch. And he gets activated and goes after Roberto in the mall, where Cable, Scott, and Jean are. Well, it turns out the mother is one. Yeah, a nice, kindly old lady that was going to get her bag and going to pack it and telling everybody about who her boy was. And look at this, his art. This is his favorite thing. She started twitching and shaking and stuff like that, like you in a horror movie. And all of a sudden, she ready to do work. And a bunch of other ones have showed up to take on Cyclops, Phoenix, and Cable. Like, holy shit. Now, this is not the end of it, because back at the mansion, Trish Tilby was there with Hank when he started scanning the planet. And when he sees what's happening, he wants to alert the X-Men, but his hand gets grabbed. And when his hand gets grabbed, he sees that it's Trish. Trish is actually a Prime Sentinel. And she put a little bit of a beating on Hank to keep him from alerting the rest of the X-Men. Look, they can be anybody. Anybody. The more unassuming, the better. And that's what's so dangerous about these damn things, outside of the fact that they're powerful. Now, the chase and the fight scenes with Cable, Cyclops, Phoenix, Marvel Girl, whatever she's going by in the show, was cool. I like that Summers crew, that Summers clan, showing why they're capable. That's good. That was cool, right? Especially doing the father-son thing where Cable and Cyclops are working together, right? Only thing that would have made that better is if they could have threw Corsair in there somewhere, right? Father, son, grandson. That would have been cool for me, right? Or Alex. Throw Havoc in there. But other than that, that's cool. That is that premier bloodline in X-Men that Sinister wants, the Summers line. Breed some powerful mutants. Okay. That was cool. But what actually got my goat and actually really started getting me pumped was the fight back at the mansion. Because once Trish Tilby puts a little whooping on Hank a little bit, Wolverine and Nightcrawler are pressed into service. And Wolverine gets the chance to make some sushi. How about that? And I enjoyed that because I didn't think they would do it in the show. I didn't think that. But being how they've run the show so far, I shouldn't have been surprised, because he got to start cutting into people for real and dismembering and slicing in half and ripping apart these Prime Sentinels. And the part that makes it interesting is you have to understand these Prime Sentinels were people. They're cyborgs now, but they were people. Still look like people. Well, he ripping them up like he'd be ripping up a 30-foot metal one. Don't matter. It doesn't matter. And so you're getting to see Wolverine actually use his claws for what they're for, which is dismembering people. This is what you wanted, or as a geek, you wanted when you heard they were making a live action X-Men movie. You want to see Wolverine ripping into people. I mean, it's just what it is. It should look like The Revenant. That part in The Revenant where the bear was having his way with Leo. Okay, that's what you should be seeing from Wolverine in a live action. Took him 20 years. Logan got close to it. This show, X-Men 97, oh, he was going to hog heaven. He was going to town on him. And what was more interesting and more telling about it is that not only was he, but Nightcrawler was too. And Nightcrawler got finally his swords. And he had 3 of them. And he was going to town, cutting and stabbing and slashing. And you see the 2 of them working together. And I look at it, here we go, giant size X-Men. You know, they just missing, Colossus and Storm and Sunfire. But that's team 2, right? That's the X-Men team 2 right there. And they getting it in. And I'm enjoying that. It is so much fun to see. We actually got to see something that you don't really see often when it comes to Nightcrawler. You got to see what it looks like to be pulled through one of his teleportations, one of his BAMFs. You saw that. Wolverine got to get pulled along on it, and you got a animated view traveling through that, leaving one place, passing through the smoke into the next place. That was cool as shit for me. That was cool. Like, wow, okay. Animated. Somebody thought about it. So there were a lot of cool fights happening in this episode. I finally got to see Roberto use his powers and fully transform into Sunspot, which looked cool. I did have a question why he wasn't burning Jubilee when he caught her, but I can overlook that. I mean, the last 2 episodes, this episode and the one before, there were things that I thought, well, that's a little bit off. I don't think that actually works that way, but go ahead, man. You give me enough good shit, I'll let that one slide. And that's what it was on this one. I'm just thinking and kind of hoping it's not going to keep doing that going forward. That we start having these little lapses in understanding, because the rest of this so far has been solid. I'd hate to see you get to the end and just start getting real sloppy. That wouldn't be cool. Back at Sinister's lab, you have Magneto prisoner there. And Magneto hasn't spoken since Genosha. He hasn't spoken at all. And Val Cooper is there, and she's feeling some kind of way about Magneto being there and kind of concerned. And she tries to get him to speak, and he doesn't. He looks at her, but he doesn't speak. Now, I respect Magneto's resolve on that. I do. I have to. But while all this zero tolerance is going on to go after these other mutants, Val has a moment and she sets Magneto free. And Sinister calls up Bastion bitching about this woman, set Magneto free, right? What the hell did she do? Well, what she did was prove something or give fans something to get giddy over, which was delivering the line after a short speech that Magneto was right. And what you see is Magneto flying away and escaping while she's giving this soliloquy to Bastion about why she did it, why she set him free. And you see Magneto traveling, and he go to someplace snowy. And mind you, this boy is in a loincloth and his force field. He goes somewhere snowy, and you automatically, I first thought, like, what, Savage Land? Did he go to Savage Land? And then I remembered something. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 sir. He did not go to the South Pole. He went to the North Pole. He goes there and plants himself in the ground, and he basically gives access to the magnetosphere of the planet, one of the poles of the planet, and he sends out an EMP wave across the whole globe by himself, unassisted, no Fabian Cortez, none of that shit, and shuts down everything with an EMP pulse. Now, this is one of the reasons why I like Magneto and characters like Magneto who have unlimited sources of power if they learn how to use it. If they learn how to harness it and use it, their power is unlimited. Unlimited. It ain't charging with solar rays. It ain't eating gamma. It ain't I need to charge up. No. All they have to do is learn and get better. That power is inexhaustible. It is a fundamental element of the universe. And he got control of that. And he shut down the planet. It's happened in comics. He's held the planet hostage a couple of times. For real. About his mutants and messing with him. This is what you got in that, which made me just like, oh my God, dude. It was bad enough that we had all these Prime Sentinels waking up. But then Magneto went EMP'd the world, the planet. Bruh. Thank you. Like it has to be like the worst thing in the world, but story wise, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Alsh was gonna stop him because while Wolverine and Nightcrawler were doing a valiant effort to cut these things down, what you find out is they kind of reattach themselves. They kind of heal and reattach themselves and come at you again. Now, once he does that, there is a brief respite, a reprieve, because there are no Prime Sentinels operating. And the X-Men kind of start gathering themselves together, right? Or at least the ones at the mansion. And Wolverine is talking about how he wishes the professor was there. And not a minute later, a shooting star crashes into the X mansion, and out of it is a ship. And out of that ship pops Charles Xavier and delivers the line that was the best way to end this freaking episode. He puts his hands to his head, a nice tight shot on just his face and his head, and he says, "To me, my X-Men." And you see everybody's astral projections of their faces opening up by his head like, oh shit, daddy home. The professor's back. It was like, damn, okay, I'm ready now. Magneto's free. Charles is back on the planet. Like he drive it like he stole it. He stole the Shi'ar ship and crashed it into the mansion trying to get back to Earth. Like, damn, bro, what you doing? What you gonna run? Yeah, that had to be the hasty exit. What happened? Because he crashed down like the Hulk in Infinity War. I'm serious. Like, I'm here. Gotta see what's going on, man. What's up with my people? Right. So that was a great way to end the episode. It took me out on a high note, being excited, like, oh yeah, business has just picked up. Xavier's back. Right. But I'm really curious to see the next two episodes, how it's gonna ramp up, because it's a 3-episode arc. This episode just ended on a peak. It came up, it started slow, but it came up and ended on a peak. This third one has to take you up somewhere, right? Or excuse me, the second one. Second one has to take you up to either a peak or you keep making an incline to a bigger climax. Either way, I'm down for it because I am not short of saying I'm enjoying this show. This show has been very surprising, very entertaining. And the cameos in this one was just killing it. They're letting you know that, no, the X-Men is back in the Marvel universe. They keep letting you know. Look, Watch the episode. I'm sure you already watched it, but watch the episode and you count the cameos that you saw in that. Like I saw my boy in it. I saw some people I wasn't even looking for. It's like, oh yes, this they awake now. I mean, next season got to be beefy. Next season has to be beefy. Like, oh my god, thank you. So I'm looking forward to the next episode. But this episode definitely a start in the right direction, building up to something good. Second episode, I expect to really be off the hook, but this was a good setup and a good leave until next week. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been artisanmc, and I will see you next time. Peace.